Hey there, boys and girls. Miss McGinnis is just going to make a quick video to talk to you about day 3 and day 4 shared reading. Day 3, we're supposed to read a new informational text called Sea Lions. And then on day 4, we compared that to Astro, the stellar sea lion. So when we look at day 3's questions, there weren't a whole lot of questions, but let's take a look at the 2 questions and the answers to those. Our first task was, it says, sea lions and seals may look alike, but they have a few physical differences. What is a group of sea lions in water called? So to answer that question, we need to go to the text where it talks about a group of sea lions in the water. We find that on page 6. It says sea lions spend time in large groups. A group of sea lions in the ocean is called a raft. So your answer to that question is a raft. Another physical difference is sea lions, they have ear flaps, whereas seals just have holes in their ears. So that's another way to tell them apart. But the answer to that question is the raft right here on page 6. Moving on, the next question, it says, explain the steps for the life cycle of a sea lion and the reasons why that information is important when training Astro. So to answer that question, we need to go where it talks about the life cycle of a sea lion. We find that on page 18. It says sea lions leave the ocean to mate and give birth. So adult sea lions mate and give birth. Newborn pups drink their mother's milk. Then they learn how to swim and hunt by staying with their mother for up to 1 year. So your answer to the first part of the question, where it says explain the steps for the life cycle of sea lion, well, adult sea lions mate and then they give live birth. The newborns drink their mother's milk. Then they learn to swim and hunt by staying with their mother for up to a year. The second part of the question says, what are the reasons why that information is important when training Astro? So that's important when training Astro because Astro didn't have his mother's milk to drink. So he had to drink from a bottle, but he still needed milk. Astro wasn't with his mother to learn how to swim and hunt. So he had to have special training to teach him how to do those things as well. And so that is a big difference. So Astro missed a large, important part of his life cycle, and he needed to be trained to do those things because he wasn't with his mother. So those are your answers to day 3. Hopefully that is helpful. Now we're going to move on to day 4, and that's where we compared and contrasted the 2 texts. This one was a little bit more difficult. This was your required assignment for the week. So let's take a look at the first one. It says, in the context of the text, that just means using text evidence, how do we understand the world around us? Meaning, why is studying animals and their behavior important? Okay, when we were looking at Astro the stellar sea lion, we learned that Mr. Astro did not drink milk on his own. He was fed milk by a human. He did not drink his mother's milk. He had to drink from a bottle. He did not learn how to swim and hunt and be with other animals. That's why when they tried to release him, he became reliant upon the volunteers or the scientists that took care of him. He had to be trained how to do those things because he naturally didn't know how to be with other sea lions. So when we go back to that question, it says, how do we understand the world around us? Why is studying animals and their behavior important? Well, if you remember when we read sea lions and their life cycle, the pups learn to swim and hunt. They stay with their mothers for up to 1 year. But in Astro the stellar sea lion, he didn't learn to swim and hunt from his mother. He didn't drink milk from his mother. So he had to be trained to do those things. So your answer to that question is studying animals and their behavior is important because we understand that animals must have their mothers to help them to learn how to train and be and swim and survive on their own. Otherwise, they're unable to do that. And because our friend Astro was trained by humans, he actually preferred to be around humans. It's almost like instead of having animal characteristics, he had human characteristics instead. He liked to play with the students. If you remember on the page where he ran into the schoolyard, it's because and when they tried to put him in the ocean, right? He didn't want to go into the ocean. He wanted to stay with his human friends. He kept coming back to play with the humans. And so we can see that the behaviors are quite different. If he had been raised by his mother, he would have been more wild and done things in his natural habitat. However, since he was raised by humans, he had more human behaviors. So that is your answer to that. We can understand the world around us because we understand that animals need to be raised in their natural habitat in order to survive there. But if they're not raised in their natural habitat, then they're probably going to adopt more human-like behaviors and they're not going to be able to survive. Looking at number 2, do scientists think that studying animals could help scientists better understand humans? Why or why not? So could studying animals help scientists better understand humans? Why or why not? So pulling evidence from both texts. Go back to that sea lions text. Remember how the pups needed to learn how to swim and hunt by staying with their mother? Right? And so they enjoy being around each other and they stay with their mother. Remember how Astro, though, wanted to stay with humans? Think about those two things. How does that help us better understand humans? Well, Astro acts more like a human and has more of a connection. He enjoys being close to humans. He needs those humans. He wants that interaction, much like humans do. Whereas wild animals, they need each other, but they don't need human interaction. So that's quite different. So studying animals can help us understand why they maybe behave the way animals behave, but also why humans need one another and why they have that connection to each other. Looking at that last question, it says, explain how understanding sea lions helps you as a reader understand the training that was provided to Astro. Give 3 details using information from both sources. Well, first of all, let's talk about the training Astro received. Let's go back to Astro the stellar sea lion. We will give 1 detail about the training he received. He received the bridge and target training. Remember, that is where they used their fist with his nose and the trainer would say, good job. So that kind of relates to positive reinforcement or a reward. When he did something good, he was rewarded, right? So in his training, we understand that his training rewarded him, which that could also connect to question number 2, right? Humans not only like to be with each other, but humans like to be rewarded for good behavior. And so that studying Astro kind of helped them to understand that humans enjoy positive reinforcement or being rewarded in addition to being with one another. Then hopping back down here, we see that bridge and target or that positive reinforcement is some of the training he was provided. So how does that help you understand sea lions and the training more? Well, when we go back here, remember, pups need to learn to swim and hunt from their mothers, but they don't have their mothers, or Astro didn't have his mother, right? And so looking here, we can give that detail as well. Sea lions in general learn to swim and hunt from their mothers. However, Astro didn't have his mother. So Astro learned how to be trained by humans by learning the bridge and target. So therefore, when we go back to this question, okay, how do we understand the training provided to Astro? Astro was trained to give positive reinforcement or rewards through the bridge and target training. He was trained by humans, not trained by sea lions. That's because naturally in an environment, pups are trained by their mothers, but since Astro did not have his mother, he had to be trained by a scientist. So hopefully that helps clear up your questions to these 3 questions that you were asked. I know that was a more difficult one, and let me know, as always, if you have any questions. Talk to you soon.